Ethan stood in the small store with his little girl by his side. His clothes were old, his shoes were worn, and in his hand he held a single pack of diapers. He looked at the crumpled dollar he had pulled from his pocket. It was the last one he had left. He had counted it twice, hoping it might somehow be more, but it was not. His daughter Lily held his hand and leaned against him. She was only 4 years old, small and light, with tired eyes. She was smiling at him, even though he could tell she was hungry. Ethan's heart ached as he thought about how much she trusted him to take care of her. When he was barely holding things together, the cashier waited for him to place the money down. Ethan slowly put the dollar on the counter, praying it would be enough. The price of the diapers was higher than what he had. Felt his chest grow tight. His pride told him to stand tall, but his fear told him he was failing his daughter. Behind him in line stood a woman. She wore a dark coat that looked expensive, and her hair was neat like she had just stepped out of an important meeting. Her name was Claire. She was the head of a large company. But at that moment, she was simply a woman watching a father struggle. She was known to the world as strong, untouchable, and cold, but her heart was not as empty as people thought. She had been lonely for a long time, and the sight in front of her stirred something inside her she could not explain. Ethan looked at the cashier and asked if he could pay the rest later. The cashier shook his head with sympathy in his eyes. Ethan felt the weight of shame. Lily tugged at his sleeve and whispered, asking if they could still take the diapers home. Ethan's throat burned, but he forced a smile and told her it would be all right. Before he could say anything more, Claire stepped forward. Her voice was calm, but firm, as she told the cashier she would cover the cost. Ethan turned to her, surprised. He shook his head quickly and said he could not accept it. He said it was his responsibility. His pride rose, even though he knew deep down that without help, he could not give his daughter what she needed. Claire looked at him without judgment. She saw the lines on his face, the way he held his daughter close, and she saw love and fight in his eyes. She told him it was not about pity, it was about doing what was right. Ethan wanted to argue, but Lily looked up at Claire with wide eyes and smiled as if she already trusted her. That smile was enough to break through the wall Ethan had built around himself. The cashier rang up the diapers and Claire handed over her card. Ethan mumbled a thank you, his voice low and rough. He picked up the bag and took Lily's hand, ready to leave. As they walked out of the store, the cold rain fell hard. Ethan pulled his jacket around Lily, trying to shield her. Behind him, Claire stepped out into the rain too. She stood still for a moment, watching the father and daughter walk away. She did not know why her chest felt heavy, but she knew something important had begun the moment she opened her mouth in that store. Ethan walked on, unaware that the woman behind him was not finished with their story. The rain came down harder as Ethan hurried along the sidewalk with Lily. She held onto his hand and tried to keep up with his long steps. Her small shoes splashed in the puddles and her coat was thin. Ethan bent down to cover her with his jacket, even though that meant the rain soaked his back. He did not care. All that mattered was keeping his daughter safe. Behind them, Claire walked to her car. Her driver opened the door, but she did not step inside right away. Her eyes followed Ethan and Lily as they moved through the rain. Something inside her pushed her forward. She could have gone home to her warm house and left the memory behind, but she could not. She gave her driver a quick signal and crossed the street toward them. Ethan stopped when he heard her voice calling. He turned around and saw the woman from the store walking toward him with the rain dripping from her coat. He frowned. He did not want to owe her more than he already did. Lily, however, lit up and waved at Claire like she was an old friend. Claire came closer and asked where they lived. Ethan told her it was not far, but his words were short and guarded. He was not used to kindness, not from strangers, and especially not from someone who looked like she belonged to another world. Claire noticed his caution, but did not step back. Instead, she looked at Lily and asked if she liked riding in cars. Lily nodded with excitement. Ethan started to say no, but Lily tugged his hand and said she wanted to go with her. Ethan looked at the rain falling harder and the puddles rising. His apartment was still a good walk away. He saw Lily's hopeful face, then looked back at Claire. Something in her eyes seemed steady, not fake. Finally, he gave a slow nod. Claire smiled softly and led them to her car. It was a black luxury car, the kind Ethan had only seen from a distance. The driver opened the door and Ethan lifted Lily inside, followed, sitting stiffly, feeling out of place in the leather seat. Claire sat across from them, calm and composed. For a moment, the ride was quiet. Lily pressed her nose to the window and pointed at the passing lights. Ethan kept his eyes on her, still unsure of the woman across from him. Claire studied him too. She noticed his rough hands, the worn sleeves of his jacket, and the way he never stopped checking on his daughter. She asked how old Lily was. Ethan answered, still careful with his tone. Claire asked about his work, and Ethan told her he picked up small jobs when he could. He did not tell her how often the money ran out before the week was done. He did not tell her how many nights he went hungry so Lily could eat. But Claire could see enough in his eyes to understand. The car stopped in front of Ethan's small apartment building. The paint was peeling, and the steps looked old, but a warm light glowed in the window. Ethan picked Lily up and thanked Claire for the ride. His words were quiet but real. Claire told him it was no trouble. Lily leaned out of Ethan's arms and waved at her again. She said she wanted Claire to come inside. Ethan hesitated, unsure, but Claire shook her head and said she would not disturb them tonight. Still, her eyes lingered on the little girl's smile, and something inside her chest ached. As Ethan carried Lily up the steps, Claire stood near her car, watching them. She could have left, but her feet stayed planted. She did not know why she cared so much, but she knew the night was not the end. Something invisible had pulled her toward them, and she could feel it stronger with each passing moment. Ethan closed the door of his apartment, thinking the strange meeting was over. But outside, Claire remained, looking up at the light in his window, certain that fate had just tied her to the man and his daughter in a way she had never felt before. The next morning, Ethan woke early. He made a small breakfast for Lily, using the last of the bread and a little milk. He sat with her at the table and watched her eat with a smile. Even when life was heavy, Lily's laugh gave him strength. He reminded himself that as long as she was safe, he would keep pushing forward. Claire was across the city in her large office building. Her assistant handed her files and reminded her of meetings stacked one after another. Claire nodded, but her mind drifted. She kept seeing the father and daughter from the night before. She told herself it was unusual for her to think about strangers, yet she could not push the image away. For years, she had lived with walls around her heart, but now a thread seemed to pull her toward them. Later that day, Ethan took Lily to the small park near their apartment. The swings were old and the paint was chipped, but Lily loved it. She ran toward the playground and climbed up with joy. Ethan sat on a bench, watching her with a smile. As he sat there, a familiar car stopped near the park. Ethan tensed when he saw Claire step out. He had not expected to see her again. Claire walked toward him with calm steps. Lily spotted her first and waved with both hands. She shouted her name even though Ethan had never told her. It surprised him, but Lily laughed as if she had known Claire forever. Claire sat on the bench near Ethan. He greeted her politely, though his tone was guarded. She asked if they came to the park often. Ethan nodded and told her Lily liked it there, said it was the only place nearby where she could run free. Lily called out for them to watch as she slid down the slide. Claire clapped her hands and smiled, and Lily beamed with pride. Ethan noticed how easily Claire connected with his daughter. It was strange. Lily was usually shy around new people, but with Claire, she was open and trusting. When Lily ran back, Claire reached out to steady her as she stumbled. For a second, her hand touched Ethan's as they both moved to help. The touch was brief, but something happened in that moment. Both of them felt warmth shoot through their hands, a pull that neither could explain. They looked at each other, and the air between them grew heavier. Claire withdrew her hands slowly, but her thoughts raced. Old family stories about soul strings came to her mind. She had never believed them, yet that touch made her wonder if destiny was real. Ethan said nothing, but his chest tightened. He told himself it was nothing, just a touch, but deep down he knew it was more. The afternoon passed with the three of them together. Claire pushed Lily on the swings, and the little girl's laughter filled the park. Ethan watched, torn between gratitude and unease. He was thankful for the joy on his daughter's face, but part of him feared what it meant to let this woman into their lives. When the sky turned orange, Ethan said it was time to go. Claire offered them a ride again, but Ethan refused. He carried Lily in his arms, and she waved to Claire until they turned the corner. Claire stood alone by her car, her heart unsettled. He had lived years surrounded by people, but never truly connected to anyone. Now in the span of 2 days, a broke father and his daughter had shaken her world. She knew this was not coincidence. She knew the string was already pulling her deeper, and there was no turning back. The next week brought more struggles for Ethan. He worked small jobs, carrying heavy boxes at a warehouse during the day and fixing broken furniture for neighbors at night. Even with his efforts, the money was never enough. Kept food on the table for Lily, but the bills were piling up. Each night after Lily fell asleep, he sat by the window and wondered how much longer he could keep going this way. Claire was also restless. She attended meetings and signed contracts, but her thoughts were not in her office. They were with Ethan and Lily. She tried to focus on work, but every time she closed her eyes, she saw Lily's bright smile in Ethan's tired eyes. She told herself it was foolish, yet she could not shake the feeling that their lives were tied to hers. One afternoon, Claire left her office early. She told her driver to take her back to the small park. She hoped she might see them again, though she did not know why she cared so much. When she arrived, her heart lifted at the sight of Lily running in the grass and Ethan sitting on the same old bench. Lily spotted Claire right away and ran to her with joy. Ethan looked up, surprised again, but he did not stop his daughter. Lily grabbed Claire's hand and pulled her toward the swings, asking her to push. Claire laughed, something rare for her, and agreed. Ethan watched, uneasy, but also moved. Later, as Lily ran off to chase a butterfly, Claire sat beside Ethan. She told him she had never known a child like Lily, full of trust and light. Ethan nodded and said Lily was his reason to keep going. His voice was steady, but Claire could hear the weight behind his words. Then something happened. As Lily tripped on the grass, both Ethan and Claire rushed to her. Their hands touched again as they helped her up. This time the warmth was stronger. It was as if an invisible string pulled them closer. Both froze for a moment, feeling the same strange force. Lily looked up at them and said in her small voice that they looked like they belonged together. Ethan pulled back, his face tense. He told Claire that Lily was only a child and did not understand, but inside he was shaken. The touch had been too real to ignore. Claire did not argue. She only watched him with calm eyes, knowing he had felt it too. As the sun set, Claire walked with them back toward their apartment. Lily held her hand the entire way. Ethan walked on the other side, silent but thoughtful. When they reached the steps, Lily begged Claire to come inside. Ethan tried to refuse, but Claire accepted with a gentle smile. Inside, Claire saw the small apartment for the first time. The furniture was old, the paint on the walls was faded, yet the space felt warm. Drawings made by Lily were taped to the walls. One drawing caught Claire's eye. It showed 3 figures holding hands. One was clearly Lily, one was Ethan, and the last one looked strikingly like her. Claire stared at it, unable to speak. Ethan noticed and said Lily liked to draw everyone she cared about. Claire's chest tightened. She had never been placed in such a picture before. She felt a sense of belonging she had not known in years. That night, when Claire left, she stood on the sidewalk for a long time. She looked up at the apartment window where Ethan and Lily waved down at her. She raised her hand and waved back. The pull in her heart grew stronger, and she knew this was not a passing moment. It was the beginning of something that fate itself had written. The days that followed were filled with quiet changes. Claire found herself visiting Ethan and Lily more often. Sometimes she brought groceries, sometimes small toys for Lily, and sometimes nothing at all, only her presence. Lily welcomed her with open arms every time, but Ethan was not as quick to accept. Ethan's pride weighed on him. He worried that letting Claire into their lives would make him look weak. He wanted to be the man who could provide for his daughter without leaning on anyone else. Each time Claire showed kindness, a part of him felt grateful, but another part felt ashamed. He was caught between his love for Lily and his own stubborn heart. Claire noticed his struggle. She did not push him, but she did not step away either. She knew he was fighting with himself. She also knew she could not turn back now. Something stronger than reason tied her to him and his daughter. She had spent years surrounded by money and power, yet nothing had ever felt as real as sitting on the floor of their small apartment and listening to Lily tell stories. One evening, Ethan came home after a long day of work. His hands were rough and his back hurt, but Lily ran into his arms with joy. Claire was already there, helping Lily with her crayons. Ethan froze for a moment, seeing the scene. His daughter was laughing, her face glowing with happiness. Yet instead of peace, Ethan felt a storm inside. He thanked Claire politely, but his voice was stiff. Later, when Lily had gone to bed, Ethan finally spoke. He told Claire that she did not need to keep coming, said her world was not theirs, and it was better for her to stay away. Claire listened quietly. She asked him if he truly believed she was only there out of pity. Ethan looked at her, unsure how to answer. His pride wanted to say yes, but his heart knew it was not true. Claire stood firm. She told him she was there because she wanted to be, not because she had to. She told him she felt something she could not explain, something that pulled her toward him and his daughter. Ethan said nothing. He only looked away, afraid of what it meant to believe her. The next day, whispers began to spread. People had seen the powerful CEO spending time in a poor part of town with a man no one recognized. Some of her business partners began to ask questions. Others warned her it could damage her reputation. Claire ignored them all. For the first time in her life, she did not care what the world thought, but Ethan cared. He heard the whispers too. He feared that her connection with him would only hurt her. He told himself she deserved someone better, someone who could stand at her side without shame. The thought of losing her made his chest ache, yet he began to believe it was the only way to protect her. That night he sat by Lily's bed and listened to her soft breathing as she slept. He thought about how easily she had grown attached to Claire. He thought about the way Claire's eyes lit up when Lily laughed. He thought about the invisible pull he felt each time their hands touched. Ethan clenched his fists and told himself he had to make a choice. Pride and fear pushed him one way. Love and hope pulled him the other. He knew the string between them was real, but he was not sure if he was brave enough to hold on. Outside, Claire stood on the sidewalk again, looking up at their window. She felt the same pull, stronger than ever. She knew Ethan was slipping away from her, yet she also knew she could not let go. Something deeper than choice was binding them, and she was ready to fight for it, even if he was not. The tension grew heavier between Ethan and Claire. Each time she came to see Lily, Ethan was polite but distant. He spoke less, and when he did, his words carried a wall. Claire noticed it, but she did not stop coming. She knew something was breaking inside him, and she feared it would soon pull them apart. One night, Ethan asked Claire to stay after Lily had gone to bed. His voice was steady, but his eyes carried weight. He told her he was grateful for everything she had done. He told her Lily was happier than she had been in months because of her. Then he said it was time for her to let them go. Claire felt her chest tighten. She asked him why. Ethan stood by the window and said her world was not theirs. He said people were talking, and he did not want to be the reason her life and her work were damaged. He said she deserved someone better, someone strong and equal. He said he was only a broke single father who could not even buy diapers without help. His words cut through the room. Claire rose from her seat and faced him. She asked him if he thought love was about money or reputation. She told him she had everything the world called success, but still felt empty until she met him. And Lily. She told him the soul string between them was real, and he could not deny it. Ethan clenched his fists. He wanted to believe her, but his fear was stronger. He said it would not work, and it was better to end it before Lily grew more attached. He said he did not want his daughter to lose again. At that moment, Lily's small voice came from the doorway. She had woken up and heard them. Her eyes were filled with tears. She asked Ethan why he wanted Claire to go. She said she wanted Claire to stay with them forever. She cried and begged her father not to send her away. Ethan froze. His heart broke seeing his daughter cry. He reached out to hold her, but Lily pulled back and ran into Claire's arms. Claire held her close, her own eyes shining with pain. She whispered that she was not leaving unless Lily wanted her to. The room was silent except for Lily's sobs. Ethan stood still, torn between pride and love. His pride told him to push Claire away, to protect himself from the risk of heartbreak. But love told him that both he and Lily needed her, could not ignore the truth forever. Claire looked at him over Lily's head. Her voice was low but strong. She told him she could walk away if he wanted, but he needed to understand one thing. She told him that once he let her go, she would never return, not because she did not want to, but because the soul string would break if he chose pride over love. Ethan's chest ached. He wanted to speak, but no words came. He turned away, unable to face her. Claire kissed Lily's hair and whispered that everything would be all right. Then she gently placed the girl back in her father's arms. She walked to the door, her steps heavy, and left without looking back. Ethan stood there holding his daughter, feeling the emptiness settle in the room. Lily cried into his chest, asking why he had let her go. Ethan closed his eyes, knowing he had made the hardest choice of his life, but unsure if it was the right one. Outside, Claire stepped into the night air. The city lights blurred through her tears. For the first time in years, she felt powerless. She had built an empire, but none of it mattered. The man and the little girl she had come to love had pushed her away. Yet deep inside, she knew this was not the end. The soul string had not broken. It was only stretched, waiting for Ethan to realize the truth. The days after Claire left were heavy for Ethan. He woke early and worked late, but nothing felt the same. The small apartment was quiet, and Lily asked about Claire every morning. She asked when she would come back, and each time Ethan told her he did not know. His heart broke a little more with every answer. Lily stopped laughing the way she used to. She still played with her crayons, but her drawings no longer showed bright colors. One night, Ethan looked at her new picture and saw that Claire was missing. Only he and Lily stood holding hands, but the string between them was broken in the drawing. His chest tightened. Ethan sat by the window long after Lily went to bed. He thought about the night he told Claire to go. He told himself he had done it to protect her, but now he realized he had only protected his pride. He saw the truth clearly at last. Claire had not come into their lives by chance. She had been tied to them by something deeper, something he could no longer deny. Across the city, Claire sat alone in her large house. The silence pressed down on her, even heavier than before. She went through her days at work, but her heart was not in it. She thought of Lily's smile, of Ethan's eyes, of the warmth of their small home. She told herself she had to let go, but she knew she could not. The string between them still pulled at her with every breath. One evening, Ethan made his choice. He could not let pride destroy the bond that had been given to them. He put on his jacket, took Lily's hand, and told her they were going out. She asked where, and he told her they were going to find Claire. Her face lit up with hope for the first time in days. They walked through the city until they reached the tall building where Claire worked. Ethan stood outside for a long moment, gathering courage. Then he stepped inside with Lily. The receptionist tried to stop them, but when Claire came down and saw them, her breath caught. She froze, unable to believe they were there. Ethan walked forward, his voice steady, though his heart raced. He told Claire he had been wrong. He told her he had let fear and pride blind him, and in doing so, he had hurt her and Lily. He said he could not lose her again, not when the string between them was stronger than anything he had ever known. Claire's eyes filled with tears. For a moment, she said nothing. Then she stepped forward and placed her hand in his. The same warmth spread between them, stronger than ever. It was as if the invisible string tightened, binding them together once and for all. Lily squeezed their hands and laughed through her tears. She said she knew Claire would come back, said they were meant to be a family. Ethan lifted his daughter into his arms, and Claire stood close, her hand resting on his. For the first time in years, all three of them felt whole. The world outside kept moving, with its noise and its lights, but for Ethan, Claire, and Lily, everything else faded. They had been broken in different ways, but fate had brought them together. The soul string that tied them had survived fear, pride, and distance. Now it held them strong, unbreakable. That night, they walked out of the building together. Ethan held Lily in one arm and Claire's hand in the other. The city lights shone down, but the brightest light was the bond between them. They were no longer a broke father, a lonely child, and a solitary CEO. They were a family, bound forever by the string of love that destiny had woven around their hearts.